Good. I was going to say morning. It's afternoon, Anthony. Good
It's
afternoon, Mr.
it's
Anthony Franco.
always morning at How to Founder.
I don't even really know what that means. Like, what if people are not morning people? Is it then it's like, hey, it's always morning. It's like, yeah, I hate
It's
mornings.
it's 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 always morning. It means whatever you want it to mean, Chris.
Provocative doesn't need to have an idea. It's just provocative.
What does it mean to you, Chris?
It means that I probably need to have an extra cup of coffee, I think is really what it means. Anthony, what if the most untapped profit center in your business is hiding in plain sight inside your company's purpose?
It's
I
here.
think it's a good question. In 1994, Anita Roddick's The Body Shop was fighting for survival against industry giants with billion-dollar marketing budgets. Instead of competing on price or advertising scale, Roddick doubled down on her environmental and social mission, becoming the first global retailer to use storytelling around ethically sourced ingredients. Within 3 years, her purpose-driven approach tripled profits, catalyzed by customer loyalty the traditional marketing couldn't buy. Today, Anthony, on How to Founder, we're talking about aligning purpose with profit. I am Chris Franks. With me today is the typically grumpy, but like maybe slightly less grumpy today,
I'm not a morning
Mr.
person,
Anthony.
so if it's always morning and you're not a morning
You
person,
are, you
that's
actually
the
are.
result.
That's a very strange thing. And joining us today, we have Elona Lopari. She's a purpose-driven entrepreneur who ditched her Fortune 500 executive role to help visionary CEOs build legacy businesses as a CEO of the Life School. She's a global speaker, best-selling author, and community builder who's helped over 30,000 entrepreneurs maximize both purpose and profits, proving the American dream hits differently when it's aligned with your soul's calling. She is from Brooklyn, like the mean streets of Brooklyn, which, is pretty. Actually, from what I hear, Alona, is Brooklyn still very hipster? Last time I was in New York, they're like, yeah, it's not tough. It's just very hipster in Brooklyn. Is that still the case?
Yeah, Brooklyn's an upcoming borough, depending on what neighborhood you live in. It's got different vibes. It's got little communities everywhere. So that's what I love about it, the diversity.
I don't think that Anthony and I are even cool enough. They would just stop us at the gates of Brooklyn. They'd be like, sorry, you got to turn around. Yeah, like,
No comment.
it looked like you were going to say something. All right, so let's just start with the bigger questions, Alona. I've heard this thing, but for a long time, the narrative in the startup world, particularly, was, hey, you can find your purpose, you can find what your why, you can do all that sort of stuff after you've built the company. And really, the only thing that matters in your founder journey is just going and finding product market fit. That doesn't seem what you're saying, though, Alona. That doesn't seem right. So, is that correct, or should I actually be considering my purpose as I think about starting my company?
It's funny because I received the same advice after I was really unfulfilled in my corporate level job, climbing the ladder all the way to the C-suite level. That's kind of was some of the advice that I was hearing from other entrepreneurs because I didn't know what I was going to do. So I started to venture out into business and trying to figure out what is it that I wanted to do. And that was the advice that I was given. However, in my journey, I found out that anything worth building takes a long time, also takes a lot of energy and effort. So unless it's connected to something bigger, to something that's really connected to you and it's meaningful to you, then it's really going to be a high level sales job when you're trying to sell something that's not really something you believe in. So that's what I've learned in my experience, that there's got to be a few other things behind that connect. so that you stay in the journey, you go through all the roller coaster ups and downs that it takes to be an entrepreneur or a founder in building anything that you decide. And it really makes the journey much more fun rather than just trying to do something just because somebody else told you you should do it, or maybe that's kind of what you see in the market as you're comparing yourself to other people.
Anthony, I was not told this was going to be hard. I just thought it was easy, and then I got to be rich and get a house on the beach someplace. Is that?
Yeah, the underwear gnome prophecy, question mark,
Question
question
mark,
mark,
question
question
mark,
mark,
question
profit.
mark. Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I think what Elena said is you need something to look forward to, right?
Yeah.
You to get you through the grind. That's it. Like the purpose essentially is what you're saying is you need something to look forward to. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's been that, meaning what was the work that I was going to choose to do and build something just beyond sales, build a brand, build something that was meaningful, build something that was going to last, and something that was in service towards others. Now, that could be a product or a service that obviously somebody chooses to bring to market. But I think that the deeper work, clarifying all of that, the vision, the values, and the mission is really amazing prep work, so to speak, so that you build from a solid foundation and you're able to make this fun. Because if you're not having fun, everybody else can pick that up.
I think it's a really interesting point just to talk about early on, which is there's been this concept in the entrepreneurship communities now for 10 plus years, which is there's an idea of social entrepreneurs. There's the impact entrepreneurs whereby your company is designed specifically to try to solve some sort of an issue. Famously, Tom's Shoes, where they would donate a pair of shoes to people in need, et cetera. There's those types of companies. But then there's this other idea, which is for-profit companies that don't necessarily have ingrained in their DNA a social cause, that those don't necessarily have a purpose or a why. I think that we've kind of realized now in the last stretch of time that that's untrue. It's an unfair comparison. Is that right, Elona?
Yeah, I think that was business done years ago, right? But now we live in a different world. People are more aware. Our consumers are more mature. People, especially after COVID, are looking for meaning, are looking for meaningful work. It will become very difficult, not for you as a founder, if you don't really have the big reason why you're doing what you're doing, to even attract the right team members around you. Because we all go from solopreneur to entrepreneur to CEO. And unless there is something bigger than just the product or the service, then again, it's just a high level job. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with capitalism, right? And just focusing on profits. Business has been done like that for many, many years. But to be able to be competitive in today's environment, you definitely want to have something beyond just that product or service. That's kind of at least what I've seen in my experience and the work that I've done over the years.
Anthony, do I, as an early stage founder, do I need to? What if I have a why? What my why is for freedom and financial freedom, and that really drives me as a human being. It's not necessarily the why behind my company. Does my why need to be connected with my company's why, or can those be two separate things?
Yeah, I always struggle with financial freedom being a why. Like I don't think that's a good why.
Well, I mean, if you're super rich like you are, Anthony, I mean,
yeah,
driving your Bentley,
People are going to actually think I drive a Bentley now. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
I drive a beat up Ford F-150, but my why has always been build cool stuff. And I think you go back to the reasons why most entrepreneurs get into something. Chris, you and I see a lot of entrepreneurs when their end goal is to have a big exit, their likelihood to success plummets. Right?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, it's a terrific answer. I mean, Alona, that's the thing is like it's you see a lot of people that get into this business because they think they're going to make a lot of money without really knowing that it's, more likely you're going to be struggling. It's going to be a difficult journey. People in your experience, people with that strong why, that commitment to their purpose, do they tend to be more successful than people that are just in it trying to grab a quick buck?
They absolutely do because they can sustain what they're doing. But back to what you guys are talking about, people can feel your intention. And if you're making your decisions around that particular intention, then that's going to show in the way that you show up, in the way that you lead, in the way that you make decisions. So it's really important to have that clear intention. If your intention is to build a company to exit, and that's primarily your intention, you will make decisions very differently from somebody that's really committed to building something that's living beyond that, or can be left as a legacy or something that can be impactful towards society. So I think, yeah, it goes back to just the basic thing of what is the intention. That's going to lead a lot of your decision making and a lot of your thought processes as you are growing and you are building the company.
So let's start with this. I'm just an aspiring entrepreneur at this point. I haven't even taken that leap, and I just know that I have this desire, this drive. What questions should I start asking myself to stay? What is this overarching purpose? What is my why? How can I try to tap into that sort of power center that is your purpose?
I think it always starts with what's that problem you want to solve in the world, right? For who? That's where we all begin. Usually, when you are first time founder, we all want to serve everybody and help everybody, and eventually you could solve a small problem. And as you get more experience and as you build things along the journey, you could start solving a bigger problem. But it really starts with that, whether it's a problem that you have experienced or something that you see that you can improve in the world or something that you want to solve for other people. That's where everything begins. Because at the end of the day, business is just a function to be able to solve a problem. And as you grow and as you build more systems and team, you just are able to do this for more people at the end of the day. So I would always start with that. What is that problem that you want to solve, for who and why? And then everything
And
starts to go from.
okay, fair. Anthony, agree, disagree?
So I am bipolar on this.
Not just on this, on many things, Anthony.
Yeah, on many things.
On many things.
In particular. So,
all right.
100% agree that it's more exciting, more thrilling to be a part of a company that has purpose, a part of a company that you feel like there's a purpose bigger than yourself, that you're doing something bigger than yourself. But do I care what the purpose is as a consumer of the company that's coming to fix my AC unit? Do I care about their purpose other than just they want to fix my AC unit? Do I if at MC Squares, I said this all the time. So my marketer used to say, we need to have a statement for this thing or that thing, and we need to show where we stand on stuff. I'm like, people just want to buy reusable sticky notes from us. They don't care about that stuff. Like, they just want to buy a dry erase marker. Why they don't want to hear what our stance is on politics or movements. They just want to make sure that we're going to be there for them. So I'm torn. I'm really torn on this. Yes, it's good for you to have something internally about where you want to be and a goal and a plan, but I'm struggling a little bit with the kinds of companies that we see quite often. They're not change the world companies. They're not mission driven companies. They are just helping somebody solve a very simple or basic problem. And maybe as founders, we're overthinking this a little bit.
Never something people typically say about us, Anthony, is overthinking things. Elona, what do you think?
Yeah. People don't care what your views on politics are, but they do care after you solve that problem, and they go deeper with you and they build trust with you and they become a repetitive customer as to what is the story behind why you do what you do? And it doesn't have to be a personal story, but it has to be connected to the problem you solve. So let's kind of clarify what purpose is, right? Purpose is not like this world views on what a founder thinks about other topics, which have nothing to do with what the problem you're solving. It really has to do the deeper why as to the problem you're actually solving and how that actually relates to the consumer, right? Because again, even if somebody is, you know, a plumber, right, and they're going to fix the toilet, at the end of the day they're doing that so that the family can have more quality time, right, to have a better environment, spend more time together, right? There's always a reason why people buy. So if you want to be successful and build something that's solid and sustainable, you want to be able to connect those dots, whether it's your marketing message or your branding message. So I think just to clarify, purpose is not just, you know, anything in the world. It's really something that relates to the problem you're solving and the reason and how that impacts your consumer.
I think it's a really sort of interesting comparison, which is oftentimes when we talk about this, we talk about brands like Patagonia that have such a strong purpose, and their purpose is in their external facing brand and it's part of their marketing message. But in your case, Anthony, their purpose might be to help people solve big problems, and they might be very deeply connected with that in fixing air conditionings and like helping humans be more comfortable in their homes. Does it have to come across in your marketing message, Elona? Is it like something where can that be an internal thing, or is it something that has to be both an external part of your brand and an internal mission?
Yeah, I think it goes back to psychology, right? Why do people actually buy? And when you dig down to understanding why a consumer buys, it's always something bigger as to the problem that you're solving for them, right? They always have those intentions as well. So if you want to speak their language, it's really wise to get into the reason why they're buying, beyond just the problem that you are solving. So it just goes back to psychology and just human behavior, why we buy what we buy and the emotional decisions we make, and then justify them with logic after. So yeah, I think it's
Totally agree with that. I totally agree with that.
So let's get to sort of the more mechanisms. So let's say that I've really identified my why as a founder, and I've installed that why I want to solve that problem, and that passion and that energy, enthusiasm for solving that problem. And we just sort of asked the question whether or not that's an internal or external thing, but how does that start to show up? Is this something where I can start to use to hire and fire? Do I start to try to figure out people that are equally passionate about solving that problem as I start to grow my team? What is the next step once I've identified that why, Elona?
Yeah, I think it's you know, the next step is to figure out where the people are that you want to solve that problem for them and go reach them with your message, right? Whether it's you sharing a story that relates to them or whether it's you speaking about the solution to the problem they have. I think that would be the next step, and figuring out how to build trust with them. And then I would say after that's done, and you have identified and cleared the marketing channels that you want to utilize to get to the people you want to support, then the next thing is have a culture, right? Have a story around the people that will be joining your team and what's in it for them as well, and somehow connect those dots for them, as far as what's important to why they're joining you as you start to grow slowly and you hire those first hires in your company. But I would say, of course, the first next step I would say would be to go find the people that you're seeking to help.
Anthony, is you're scaling up a company, like with one of the companies that you were growing with rapidly, like maybe that why was really clear to you and your co-founder. How did you make sure that that purpose and sense of identity around the problem that you wanted to solve really permeated everybody that you hired? Like in a growing company, I think that can be hard.
No, it comes down to extreme care for who you hire and who you pursue. Instead of waiting for people to come to you, you go. I went and found people that fit the narrative that meant something to the people that chose to work with me. So this is you drive culture entirely through who you bring on board and who you allow to stay and serve the company. It starts and ends with the team. Period.
I'll redirect the question to you, and then I'll ask you, Elona. Can I work at your company if I like everything about the company? I like the people, I like the benefits, I like the product, but I don't necessarily buy into the why. Is that something? Can I do that?
I don't. So of course, the answer is yes, especially if you have tremendous value to contribute. But that I think that's fleeting. That you're not long in the tooth for that job. Yes, you can come work for that. If the company, honestly, if the company's really good at hiring, they're going to weed you out before you actually get hired. And that's not to say that everybody that's a part of your company has to be, drink the Kool-Aid. That's not what I'm talking about. But it does mean you have to get at least aligned with the company's purpose and vision. You don't have to fully buy into it, but you have to get aligned with it and understand it and use it to help motivate you in some way to get your job done there.
Elona, I think that nobody's going to be as passionate about the problem that they're solving more than the founders. But for employees, do they have to have some alignment there?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Anthony, right? So once you're clear about that and you have a culture, again, culture starts with you, right? Whether you're a solopreneur, you have one person on your team, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you start to scale and grow that team. I think the more clear you are as to who you're looking for, cultural fit, meaning who are the people that beyond the technical experience that they bring to the table, are they also aligned with your values? You should be implementing that in your hiring process, because again, you can hire a superstar that's really amazing at performance, but if they're not a good cultural fit, you're not going to be able to retain them for a long time. And we all understand how much time, energy, effort, investment it takes to bring on a new hire and get them going within the company and the roles that they are responsible for. So I mean, quick hire, you have a quick need, you can hire strategically. There's many ways to hire, but if you're looking for somebody long-term that can grow with your company, it is definitely smart to put that as part of your hiring process, onboarding and training processes.
Okay, so question for both of you, and then we'll transition into the speed round, Elona. But starting with you, how do I do this? So I know my passion and I understand how I feel about this problem solving, but how do I codify this to start to be able to tell that story? What are the steps that I need to go through as a founder?
Yeah, I think it's really go back to the problem that you want to solve and why you actually chose that problem to solve for people in the first place, right? Because we could be solving a million problems in the world, but there's a reason why you feel pulled to be able to solve that problem. So start with that. Why is it that you want to solve that problem for other people, and why? And then just make that, people call it many different things, but that's kind of your pitch or the reason why you're doing what you're doing. And then start to talk about that with the people that you potentially are able to serve while adding value. That's where everything begins, whether you're showing up on social media or you're networking or you're speaking somewhere or you're getting on a podcast like this. Just share that information, because your experience, usually what I've seen, Chris, is that most of the problems people want to solve, if they want to stay authentic with why they're doing what they're doing, it's problems that they actually have experience in. It's not problems that they're theory and they've heard other people that they should be solving. Because again, you will, if you're not true to what you're saying and you haven't lived that, it's going to show in everything that you talk about. So, but yeah, I would say start with that, clarify that sentence, who is the problem for what, and why did you actually select to choose that problem in the world, and why do you think it's important to solve that problem?
Anthony, go ahead. Sorry, please.
Go from there.
Anthony, we've talked about it before, which is you start with this why statement, and then you build your values on top of that. And I think you as a founder, you've got to get real comfortable talking about it, because you're going to be talking about it for as long as you're running that company. True?
Yeah. And I just recognized as I was listening, as I was playing back what we've been saying on the show, I think we might be overstating. I might be overstating purpose a little bit, and what I mean by that is, Elona and I both have said that we need to come in and you need something that's going to draw you to the future, that's going to pull you towards the hard parts. That doesn't look like, for founders, that doesn't look like this thing that you wake up under every morning with a passion to go solve. That doesn't exist. It's not a religion. It's more about when you're in the funk, when you're in the valley, you have to like pull that out and go, okay, why am I doing this? And that's what pulls you out of those inevitable dips in the roller coaster. It also can help you help humble you, right? In the peaks, when it's like, look, all we're doing is making reusable sticky notes. We're not curing cancer, right?
Yeah. So turns out it's not all that important, really.
It's a great leveler, right? The purpose is a great leveler.
I think it's a good one. All right, Elona, let's go into the speed round. Wait for our cool graphic. You're going to be blown away. From our cool graphic. All right. So, Elona, purpose statement on the website or embody it just in all of your operations?
I would say the second choice.
All right. I like it. Purpose set by a founder or co-create that purpose with your team?
Second part.
Okay. Measure impact quarterly, annually, monthly, daily. How do I actually measure, or how often do I actually measure how well I'm connecting to my purpose?
Ideally daily, but weekly is also a good amount of time to measver. I think that was a choice.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Again, you can choose,
But
D, all the above.
Obviously, going to quarterly and yearly is really helpful.
Do you create separate marketing channels, messages, campaigns specifically around your purpose, or do you just embed that in everything that you do?
Embed it.
Explicit purpose in sales conversations, or just kind of bring it to the table in all of your sales conversations?
I think if it's a natural thing that you are implementing, then it should come up naturally in all conversations you're having. Sales.
I like it. Anthony, what did you learn from today's episode?
I learned that if I start a plumbing business, my purpose is going to be poop in serenity. So I think that's going to be my purpose.
I saw you come up with that joke when we were talking about air conditioning companies, and I saw your eyes widen, and I'm like, oh God, we're going to talk about poop. It's going to be a poop. There will be a poop joke.
90 episodes, Chris. We're starting to become an old married couple. You know what I'm going to say. All right. So the fundamentals are pretty good. So map customer pain points to purpose. So make sure you're aligning what you're solving with your purpose. It also may not need to be public facing. It may be something that's just driving you or the team. I wrote down financial freedom is not a purpose, it's a goal. And you need to distinguish those two things. And then the final one, you have to hire for purpose alignment, even above skill. Right people self-manage towards meaningful outcomes.
Good lessons. Our deep dive, one of my very favorite autobiographies from a book, Let My People Go Surfing by Yvon Chouinard. He is the founder of Patagonia, one of my favorite brands of all time. Start with Why by Simon Sinek. Watch the YouTube video, one of the worst produced TED Talks of all time, still one of the most best TED Talks of all time. Built to Last by Jim Collins, who lives in Boulder, Colorado. Did you know that, Anthony? Mm-hmm. Jim Collins? Yeah, Jim Collins still hasn't called me, which is weird. But anyway, and then an article from Harvard Business Review called The Business Case for Purpose. Elona, where can we find out more information about you? Where can we connect? Where can we get help finding our purpose as founders?
All right. They can find me at elonaloparicoaching.com, and I have a few free resources on there they can check out as well. I appreciate that.
Beautiful. That is terrific. Thank you so much for joining us today, Elona. Thank you for dealing with the poop and dad jokes. They've been, I'd say pretty minimal today, Anthony. I don't think we went over the top of their dad jokes. Maybe. Anyway,
No,
Anthony,
no.
what do we have coming up? Oh, and then she left again.
She's done. So
yeah,
thank you, Elona.
Yeah.
I wanted to say thank you to you in person, but I guess you'll get it on the replay. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Chris, we're getting back on our regular schedule now, so 2-3 times a week we'll be doing this. We kind of took a long spring break.
Yeah,
everybody that's been
right.
Yeah, we're at episode 90. We're getting up there. Looking forward to episode 100. It would help us a lot if you visited howtofounder.com and just hit the Apple podcast button and then rated our podcast. For Chris's sanity, he's measured. We're at 4.7. That's good. We need to get to that 4.8. So if you could help us get to that 4.8.
I'm not even a 4.8.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And we will, next time we're talking about something very tactical. So tomorrow morning, we're talking about developing a lead gen flywheel. So getting really in the weeds about lead generation. Chris, good to see you, man. We'll talk to everybody soon. Take care, guys.
Bye.